Hi guys, here's your video going over section 2.1 quadratic functions and models, day 2. So after this video, you should be able to write functions in standard or vertex form. So here we go. So what's going to happen is you're going to be given some information either graphically or written out like the second example. And what we want to do is we want to use that information so that we can write the equation in standard form. So if you recall from day 1, standard form is f of x equals a x minus h quantity squared plus k. Standard form is also called vertex form because you can find the vertex just by looking at the equation. So I'm going to look at my graph and see what information is given to me. Well, that -2, -1, that's your vertex. And then your 0, 3, that's just some point that is on your graph. So my vertex is h and k. So what I can do is I can go ahead and replace my h and my k in my function with -2 and -1. So let's go ahead and start by doing that. So I have f of x equals a x minus h, well I'm subtracting a -2, so that becomes x plus 2, quantity squared, plus k, k is -1. Alright, so now I've replaced my h and my k. Well, if I want to write the function, I also need to figure out what this a is. And right now, I have no idea what it is. But if you look at your graph, you're also given this point. Now this point is going to help you solve for a. Anytime you're looking at points, a regular point, its ordered pair is x, comma, y. So I can go ahead and plug in those values as well. I can plug in 0 for x and 3 for y. Well, f of x is the same thing as y, so I'm going to plug it over here. And then that is going to allow me to have an equation in which everything has been substituted except for a. So now I can solve for a. Don't forget about order of operations. We're going to simplify this first. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. I'm going to go ahead and rearrange it a bit because usually when we see equations we have the coefficient in front of your variable. So I have 4a minus 1 equals 3. I'm going to continue to solve for a. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. That gives me 4 equals 4a. So a equals 1. Now to write out your final answer, what you're going to do is you're going to take this a and you're going to put it back into your function notation. So when I write it out, I'm going to write f of x equals, a was 1. I'm going to leave x as a variable because when you're writing out a function, you need that variable there. So I'm only replacing my a, h, and k. And that is your function in standard form. Let's do another one. So for this one, it is given to you in words as opposed to on a graph. So again, I want to be able to get this into my standard form. Standard form is f of x equals a x minus h quantity squared plus k. I have my vertex, that is the h and the k. So I can go ahead and make that substitution right here for h and for k. So I'm going to write this as f of x equals a x minus h quantity squared plus k, which is 3. And now that I've done that, I can use my point, which is going to be x and y, and I can make those substitutions as well. So f of x is the same thing as y, so I have -1 equals a, x is 6, so 6 minus 2 squared plus 3. Again, order of operations, let's simplify this. So 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So I have 16a plus 3 equals -1. Continuing to solve, I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. That gives me -4 equals 16a. I'm going to divide by 16. And don't forget to reduce your fraction. So a is -1/4. And once again, once I have my a, I'm going to take this and put it back into my function notation with my h and my k. So final answer, f of x equals negative 1/4 x minus 2 quantity squared plus 3. All right, so that is it for 2.1 day 2.